I can't believe this happened. Look at this Bitcoin monthly candle. This is the month of the Bitcoin spot ETF being approved and launching, and Bitcoin respecting this 618 resistance line. It happened. I want to talk about why this is such a big deal for crypto in general. We're going to look at the monthly ADA chart and the zoomed in charts on ADA as well. So please, everybody, hit the subscribe, hit that like button, and let's just talk about what is happening right now. So there are 17 days left on the monthly candle for Bitcoin, but this resistance, this was the big question mark right there. Is this time going to be different for Bitcoin and crypto in general because of the Bitcoin spot ETF, the billions of inflow that were going to come into play? Or even with a headline event like that, even with an event like that, is Bitcoin going to respect this resistance? And to give you an idea, just zoomed out, look at this. The consistencies here. You can't ignore this. Everybody. So here's the 618 last cycle prior to the Bitcoin halving. Look at the wick on the monthly. And then here is the resistance all the way back here pre-2016 halving at the 618 line. This area is an area that Bitcoin has to contend with every cycle pre-Bitcoin halving, and so far it is not different this time. It has kind of lost on the short term at this resistance area. Now, this screams two things, two kind of warnings. One is a shorter term bearish warning. The other is a long-term bullish warning. And that's a bullish alert. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that. But to do that, let's kind of just zoom in a little bit. So to give you an idea, the Fibonacci range that we're tracking is a bull market high to bear market low. So you see these green boxes, Bitcoin last cycle wicking right into that on the weekly and then falling. So what I'm seeing right now is almost an identical move, even with the bullish Bitcoin spot ETF happening, right? Look at that. Look at that. Now, the question is, will Bitcoin kind of consolidate continuously within this general range it's been in for like a month and a half, and then actually make a move to that area? Bitcoin spot ETF inflow might make a difference, right, in this regard. That's possible. However, I want to be realistic. It's obviously in play for continued resistance pre-Bitcoin halving, because this is exactly what Bitcoin does every cycle. This move, this wick on that weekly is exactly what Bitcoin does every cycle. So what does Bitcoin do next? It's very simple. Is you go back, and it's true what Bitcoin did next is consistent in the previous cycles, but what's more true is all it did is it just kind of respected technical levels, technical analysis levels. And mainly for me on the weekly for Bitcoin, whether it's bull market, bear market, the two biggest indicators that I'm always watching are the 20-week moving average and the 50-week moving average. Bitcoin, from the rejection at that 618 line, pulled into the 50-week moving average, and it was bottoming out, kind of starting to bounce the upside. This, which is COVID, threw the charts off, right? Who knows what would have happened next? But notice, it consolidated to the 50. You go back to Bitcoin in the halving prior in 2016, it consolidated off the 618 line prior to the halving, consolidated to the 20-week moving average. It actually wicked real bad just above the 50, but really closed those candles around the 20. So the 20 and 50 are obviously just really important areas I think we should be paying attention to right now. No matter how bullish you are on Bitcoin, they're just obvious areas. Just put the bullishness aside for a second, the emotion aside. From a data perspective, we've already seen the consistency of the resistance that we were anticipating and answering the question, is it different this time? Well, so far, no, it's not different this time. And right now we have the 20-week moving average around 35,000 and the 50-week moving average right around 30,000. So $30,000, $35,000. This is this area where Bitcoin could trickle down to this area. That's kind of the warning, right? That's more of that short-term bearish warning prior to the next halving. We could be in store for a dip in crypto. For Bitcoin, we're looking at this could be potentially down to, let's just call it the $30,000 range, and we're looking at like a 25 to 30% consolidation for Bitcoin. Now, the second part of the warning, the bullish warning, and this is just my opinion. I don't know if it will play out this way. I don't even know if we'll get a dip. But if this happens, and if we come down, we're consolidating into halving. This warning is to say, I truly think that will be it. This will be the last bit of opportunity before the parabolic bull market, before we start entering in this area where we're approaching all-time highs again and making the run for all-time highs. and I say that not just for the Bitcoin charts, but for crypto in general, we might be getting the last dip of this cycle before the true bull market starts. And then before we're really starting to make those moves, we're breaking the bull market doors, right? Because guess what? The doors were not broken. Bitcoin pounded on those doors for very brief moments, did not break the doors. This might be the last opportunity into these moving averages. This is what happened before. It's the most simple data. There's all these other pieces to these charts that are helpful, but that as a starting point is such a good roadmap. It's been so helpful for me in terms of using these indicators, the Fibonacci with these moving averages, analyzing also where we are on the RSI, right? So in terms of the momentum of Bitcoin, it was overbought heading into that 618 resistance. It was overbought, you can see right there. It was overbought here going into the 618 resistance back here in 2019. You can see very similar area of being overbought, and it was overbought in a very similar area pre-2016 having going into the 618 resistance then. The charts, they just line up well. Could this week all of a sudden Bitcoin ETF inflow just explodes and then Bitcoin does finally do something different? Yeah, it could. We'll track it. But I wanted to note that the potential for this to be not only a short-term downtrend, but truly, I think potentially the last downtrend for crypto, Bitcoin, altcoins, whatever you want to call it. Going over to ADA, it's very simple. On the monthly, if Bitcoin's going to be seeing this resistance, right? ADA also probably, and most altcoins pretty much going to see resistance as well. And what's cool is just from a technical analysis perspective, look at ADA at this 50-month moving average resistance already for a month and a half or so, or whenever it hit it last month, and then so far this month, you can just see the wicks right there on these 2 monthly candles at that area. Huge resistance around 63, 64 cents for ADA. Let's just call it up to 65 cents. Huge resistance. We've already noted we have this breakout out of that triangle for ADA, 85 cent target to the upside. But let's say, and we'll talk about consolidation short term and potentially even upside for ADA in a minute, but let's say crypto falls, like we were just talking about with Bitcoin, that last opportunity. What could it look like for ADA? Is very similar, right? The 20-week moving average is an area where ADA has kind of escaped from. And if we actually move, we've been comparing this technical move for ADA very similar to the move going into the Shelley hard fork in 2020, August 2020. And if we open up the RSI, you can even just see very similar movements there into this overbought territory. And then if you just look, what is potentially in play? Same thing for Bitcoin. Pulling into the 20 and the 50, pulling into the 20 and the 50. And also, if that were to happen, if ADA is going to fall into the 20 and 50 and just start falling, consolidating to the downside, what's it doing? Well, here's this triangle. It's a descending triangle. We broke out. It's throwing back basically to the apex area, which is so typical and normal. It doesn't mean that it's a busted triangle and we won't hit that 85 cent target. It just means this is the story on the way to the 85 cent target. We see this a lot in these patterns. These are the kind of the rules of the patterns, right? And this is why we track all of these potential setups. And that's what we're looking at for ADA. But going to the daily, there's this speculative consolidation, right? So maybe Bitcoin does something crazy and breaks out of this range that it's in, right? And this is the range on the weekly. It's just, you can just see, right? Back here, beginning of December, it's been in just this range. Maybe Bitcoin breaks to the upside. Here's what I'm looking at on ADA on the shorter term. If that's happening this week, if it somehow ends up being a green week for crypto, ADA's in the speculative triangle that I started charting the other day, because I'm still, from this move to the upside, I'm still looking for some type of structure for ADA. It's on the daily chart. It's starting to form, right? We kind of came down briefly. We're heading up, but we're talking about maybe potentially a run to, again, the above 60 cents, right? So 65 cents up to around 67 cents. This upper trend line, maybe ADA just wicks up to that area and we're consolidating. This could take some time, but green week, that's the resistance for ADA. If crypto starts making a move to the upside again, I want to note something. If ADA starts falling, I'm not using this triangle as a target right now because this triangle is not in play yet. This is a speculative triangle. Meaning I still want to see the structure form, because right now we don't have enough touches, in my view, in terms of calling this an ascending triangle. It's not happening yet. We need, I would say, at least one more swing high and then maybe one more swing low for the trend line. and then we have an ascending triangle. But we're not there yet, right? We have to kind of wait, and I'm waiting this week to see how this plays out in these charts. If ADA doesn't get this formation, meaning we don't kind of start cruising to the upside, or we don't see support in this general area, higher low area around 50 cents, and ADA just falls and crypto's falling, I'm zoomed out. There's no structure yet. I'm using a Fibonacci from when ADA took off in October to swing high, and I'm using a Fibonacci, 40 cents down to around 33 cents. That's what I'm anticipating for ADA. And that's so meaningful on the weekly because we go back to the weekly. We got the 50-week moving average around 36. We have the upper trend line around 33. And we have the 20-week moving average around 39.40 cents. So that just is the perfect move. If crypto is going to consolidate, that would be the perfect move for ADA down to those territories, putting in a higher low out of the bear. And that's just the thing, everybody. Whatever happens in the short term, if you go to that monthly chart, look at this. This illustrates that we've escaped the bear. Right here, this was pivoting out of the bear. There's the bear market, the bottoming out of the bear market, I should say. There's the bear market. And then here's the pivot away. And this is getting ready for the bull market right here. That's where we are right now. We're getting ready for that parabolic move. The same exact thing happened going into that Shelly move back here in 2020. You can see it. You can see this RSI line just cruising away from the moving average yellow line. It's the same exact thing that just happened. RSI line cruising away from that yellow moving average line. The similarities on all these charts they're just so cool. They really are so cool to track. And yeah, on the macro, maybe eventually something will break and they won't be so consistent. But I know as of right now, they've been a very helpful guide for me, a good roadmap in terms of just keeping it cool as we wait week after week, through all of these years, because that's what we've been doing. We've been tracking bear markets, tracking bull markets, and now we're getting close to that Bitcoin halving here on the ADA charts, getting close on the Bitcoin charts, obviously. And just look at this Bitcoin monthly candle struggling to stay green right now with this huge wick of resistance at that bull market door area, the 618. Going to continue tracking it going into this week. I didn't even mention the Coinbase SEC case, but truly, I would say that is top of my mind right now. I'm so curious to see what happens. I think on Wednesday with that case, it could mean so much to crypto. But everybody, hit the subscribe, hit the like. I appreciate you watching. If you're out there, I hope you have a good week, good start to your week. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.